Back. Well, as you saw, Eskom announcing earlier today it would be adjusting the country to stage 2 load shedding after the peak evening demand tonight. During the power utilities daily briefing, the Eskom CEO, Andrew Ruyter, said that a number of units had now returned to operation. For more on what other options the power utility may have, and also where we just are, we're joined now by the Director of Stellenbosch University Centre for Renewable and Sustainable Energy, Professor Sampson Mamphweli. Professor Mamphweli, good evening. Nice to have you in person. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Evening, Stephen. I'm happy to be here in person. Yeah, I can actually see you actually exist.
We shook hands. Don't tell anyone. We often talk about a series of we often talk about a breakdown of generating capacity within Eskom, and that's the sort of what the press statement says. That's what people talk about. But it seems that we have, to me, that we have a whole series of systems that are breaking down. So the system that moves coal into power stations, the system that stores coal when it rains. It's about boilers in those systems, and then also about the distribution system. So people at Eldorado Park have had no power for over a week. It seems to me that what we're really seeing is a sort of set of, I don't know, cascading failures in the entire system.
That's correct. And all these failures date back to the way back when Thabo Mbeki was still president, for instance. There was, at some point, some money that was set aside for maintenance of all these systems, the entire power system, and part of that money was taken and used for something else. The country went into a massive rural electrification program, which was a great program for that matter, but they forgot about the generation capacity. They forgot about the transmission lines. So as we said, we've got a huge backlog in terms of the transmission lines. That is the least of our problems, because transmission lines can be sorted out within 6 months to a year. But the biggest challenge is on the generation capacity side, where we have massive breakdowns of power stations, especially coal power stations. And if you look at it, it's because of two things. One, the age of the power stations. Two, the maintenance of the power stations was not as it should have been way back then. And Eskom CEO Andrew Ruyter actually mentioned this one of these days, to say the system was not properly maintained. And now it's just breaking down left, right, center. If you look at the energy plan, the IRP, we were supposed to have decommissioned about 11,000 megawatts by 2030 of the coal fleet. And if you look at the breakdowns that we're having, they go alongside that, because at any point in time we can have up to 11,000 megawatts, up to 16,000 megawatts breakdown. That tells us that we should basically get rid of this fleet as quickly as we can.
All of this was supposed to be fixed, and I'm reminded actually as you talk about the 1998 white paper on electricity that said by December 2007 you'll have load shedding, and hey presto, 2007 we had load shedding. But Medupi and Kusile were built. Weren't they supposed to stop this from happening? If they were working properly, would we still be having load shedding?
If Medupi and Kusile were working properly, we would have less load shedding, but we would still have load shedding. The biggest problem with Medupi and Kusile is mainly the design flaws that can be associated with some corruption that took place and some shoddy work that was done. I mean, we've got a power station that at some point can break down, and Eskom for days cannot actually detect where the problem is. And that is because of the design flaws that are in the two power stations. So that's a big problem for me. The cost of Medupi and Kusile is quite huge, as you know, Stephen, and the viewers, they know about this as well. In my view, government made a very good decision in terms of completing Medupi and Kusile, but they started where they shouldn't have started. They should have started by basically stripping the entire thing and rebuilding it from the design part all the way to the construction again. So the coal fleet is giving us problems, and we sit with a lot of renewable energy that can come in and assist us. You know, some of it is available immediately.
I thought you would get there very quickly. So the reason I started off where I started off is that we're used to having this big national network that feeds cities, right, and industrial areas, and that it comes mostly from Mpumalanga, a few other places, and it comes from these coal-fired power stations. So the temptation is to repair what we know or build maybe better what we know. That's why we built Medupi and Kusile. It's what we know. But if you look at the problems in El Dorado Park, where the power's been off for so long because of the distribution network problem, there are other ways now, right? But particularly because of solar power, because of wind power, and microgrids.
Yes. We do have various options in the renewable space. We know that the predicament around the implementation of renewable energy was mainly around the storage part. You know, the storage was quite expensive. Now, globally, the storage the energy storage technologies, the prices are going down, and they're going down drastically. So now there is that opportunity for use of renewable energy, both at household level and also at microgrid level, where we can build what we call the decentralized systems that are less complex and easy to maintain and easy to detect where they are when you've got problems. And we've got the sun. I mean, I just came from Austria about a week ago, and you'll be amazed at the number of solar panels that you see on the roofs of government buildings, of people everywhere. It's about solar energy. And guess what? They've got a fraction of the solar energy resource that we have. We've got this plenty resource in the country that we're not using, to full kind of capacity. So there are various options that we can start looking at. Eskom is looking at microgrids, for instance, in remote areas where they cannot get the grid there. So that's a step in the right direction as well.
I mean, I sometimes wonder if some entrepreneur somewhere, someone with money, we all know who has money, is going to go and find a little area, build some solar panels and sell people electricity, and when government tries to stop them, it's just going to take government to court again and again and again. I mean, I don't think we're far off from that happening.
Yes, we have actually people who are starting to do something similar. We have, we do a bit of consulting work at the university to try and assist people. And you get people who come to us and say, I want to build a solar farm, and I've got an agreement with this group of people. I want to provide them with power. And then we have to go back to legislation and look at it and say, no, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you cannot do that. But others go ahead and do it anyway. In most cases, they hide transactions, which we don't necessarily encourage. We encourage people to follow the law, obviously, but people are getting to a level where they become desperate. And the money is there. The only thing that we need to do is legislation, making it easy for people to trade on electricity and things like that. So in the near future, what we're looking at is a kind of a decentralized grid where you will find a number of companies. I mean, for instance, in Port Elizabeth, or Bebeja, what they call Bebeja now, the VW plant, they were looking at a big biomass plant. And in that kind of a situation, they were also looking at selling part of the electricity that they will be producing to various customers who are around the BMW plant, which is possible if they do it within the legislative prescripts. They just need to ensure that they follow the proper legislation and ensure that they pay the taxes, their system is registered with the National Energy Regulator and all those kind of things.
The one advantage of a national system that we've been used to up until now is that it makes sure that you can get the rich, including companies, to subsidize the poor. Yes. So you can make sure that there's free electricity, as most cities actually provide free electricity if you can prove you're indigent. They have an indigent policy is the phrase for it. If you have microgrids, don't you lose that advantage? And in this country, doesn't that mean companies and rich people will have electricity, but most people won't? Isn't that the risk?
It's not much of a risk, because most of these people who are already getting the free basic units, for instance, they are already in the big network. And one of the things that we've been looking at as researchers was how best can municipalities provide this free basic unit using renewable energy? So there are already talks and the thinking around whether you can get a 600 watts system, for instance, installed at a low-cost house, and you have some smart metering device, and then you can then provide them with the free basic unit for life without necessarily paying for it, without necessarily the rich paying for this, because that is there for life. So and already, because they are already in the current network, most of them, they will still have a little bit of that benefit. But as more and more as the Eskom system and the current system of the integrated grid starts to give people problems. I mean, I had to drive for like 30 minutes for 5 kilometers coming here. You can imagine the impact of load shedding. I mean, it's quite massive. That is just an inconvenience, but they say the economic impact as well. So in the long run, this system is also impacting negatively on the poor. It doesn't really matter for us to give the poor 53 basic units, and then we impact the economy in a way that the same poor will lose their jobs. The same poor will have to pay more for other commodities like your bread, and your other food stuff. You know, it defeats the entire purpose. So in my view, the decentralized systems will actually benefit the poor more than the current system.
Sure. No one benefits by everybody having no electricity, I suppose, is really what it boils down to. Professor Sampson Mamphweli, thank you very much indeed for coming in. I really do appreciate it.